The Loop explained how addiction hijacks your brain. It starts as a quiet hum in the back of your mind, a feeling that something's missing, a nagging restlessness you can't quite name. This feeling pushes you to find a quick fix, a scroll through your phone, a drink, a click on a shopping website that gives you a moment of relief. But then, almost as fast as it came, the relief vanishes, and an even deeper sense of lack sets in, way worse than before. This isn't a failure of willpower. It's not a moral flaw. It's a biological loop, a neurological trap that is ancient, powerful, and ruthlessly efficient. In this video, we'll break down the universal cycle that addiction uses to hijack your brain and show how understanding this loop is the first step to taking back control. Section 1. The problem. The universal feeling of lack. Before we get into the brain science, let's start with that feeling, that initial state of lack. It can be unease, boredom, anxiety, or just a vague sense of emptiness. It's completely human. Our brains are hardwired to escape discomfort, and this feeling is the starting gun for a process that, for millions, spirals into addiction. And when we say addiction, we're not just talking about drugs or alcohol. The exact same brain mechanics are at play, whether your fix is a substance like nicotine or a behavior like gambling, compulsively checking social media, or even overeating. The object of the addiction might be different, but the brain chemistry and the destructive cycle are pretty much identical. Both are triggered by an internal need, and both exploit the same powerful brain chemicals to create dependence. The problem really starts when we learn to connect a specific action with silencing that feeling of lack. The brain, always looking for a shortcut, forges a powerful connection. Feeling bad? Do this one thing to feel good. That's the first link in the chain. It's a survival mechanism gone wrong. Your brain thinks it's helping you survive a threat, the threat of emotional pain. But what it's actually doing is building a prison, one brick at a time. This isn't a conscious choice. It's a deeply ingrained, subconscious process. Addiction is basically a form of learning gone haywire, where the brain hammers on repetition until the behavior feels totally automatic. Section 2. The agitation, the search for relief, and the dopamine hijacking. So that feeling of lack creates an urge. This next stage is what experts call preoccupation and anticipation, or more simply, the search. Your brain, now laser-focused, starts hunting for the one thing it knows will provide relief. This is where our main character, a neurotransmitter called dopamine, makes its grand entrance. Now, you've probably heard dopamine called the pleasure chemical, but that's not quite right. It's more like the chemical of motivation. Dopamine doesn't just deliver pleasure, it drives you to seek pleasure. It's the engine of desire. When you eat a great meal or connect with a friend, your brain releases a healthy, normal hit of dopamine. It reinforces the behavior, telling your brain, "Hey, that was good. Let's do that again." It's essential for our survival, but addictive substances and behaviors aren't a healthy meal. They are a neurochemical sledgehammer. They flood the brain's reward system with a tidal wave of dopamine, way beyond what any natural experience could ever provide. A drug like cocaine, for instance, literally blocks dopamine from being reabsorbed, forcing it to build up in your synapses and creating an intense, artificial high. A behavioral addiction, like gambling, works in a similar way. The anticipation of a win, the flashing lights, and the sounds all trigger massive, unnatural dopamine surges. The likes and notifications from social media act as smaller, but relentlessly frequent dopamine hits. This overwhelming flood is the binge and intoxication stage. or what we feel as temporary relief. The nagging feeling of lack is drowned out by a powerful sense of escape. Your brain's reward system lights up like a Christmas tree, and a powerful memory is forged. Your brain doesn't care if the source of this relief is good or bad for you. It only knows one thing: this worked spectacularly. And so, it reinforces the loop, making the connection between your trigger and this behavior even stronger. Section 3. The explanation, the vicious cycle of the new lack. And this is where the trap snaps shut. After the intense artificial high comes the inevitable crash. This is the withdrawal and negative affect stage, and it's what keeps the whole loop spinning. Your brain, reeling from the dopamine flood, tries to protect itself. It starts a process called downregulation. Imagine the dopamine receptors in your brain are like little landing pads for a helicopter. When they are constantly overwhelmed by a whole fleet of helicopters, the brain starts to pull back some of the landing pads or turns down the volume on the ones that are left. This creates a devastating problem. Your brain now has fewer or less sensitive dopamine receptors. This means two things. First, the addictive substance or behavior provides less of a high than it used to. That's called tolerance. But second, and this is the really cruel part, your ability to experience pleasure from anything is tanked. Natural rewards like food, hobbies, or hanging out with friends no longer produce enough dopamine to even register. This creates a chronic state of anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure, and a profound, deep-seated feeling of emptiness. This is the new lack. It's a biologically engineered misery, far deeper and more painful than the vague feeling that started the loop. Now, you're not just seeking pleasure, you're desperately trying to escape pain. The motivation flips from positive reinforcement, chasing a high, to negative reinforcement, trying to stop feeling awful. The addicted brain isn't even chasing euphoria anymore, it's just trying to feel normal again. While all this is happening, another part of your brain is being compromised: the prefrontal cortex. This is your brain's CEO, the hub for decision-making, impulse control, and thinking about the future. Addiction weakens it. So just as the craving to use becomes all-consuming, the very part of your brain that's supposed to hit the brakes is taken offline. The desire for relief becomes compulsive, overriding your rational mind, even when you're facing devastating consequences. This is why telling someone with an addiction to just quit is like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. Their brain's control system has been hijacked. So that's the complete loop. The initial lack leads to a search for relief. That relief comes from a dopamine flood that forces the brain to downregulate its own reward system. This creates a new, more profound lack, which triggers an even more desperate search for relief, all while the brain's ability to stop itself is getting weaker. Lack, search, relief. A new, deeper lack. The cycle repeats, spiraling down each time. Section 4. The empowerment. How to break the loop. Hearing all this, it's easy to feel hopeless. If addiction is a disease that literally rewires the brain, are we powerless against it? Absolutely not. The very same principle that wires the brain for addiction can be used to unwire it. Neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's incredible ability to reorganize itself and form new connections. Just as pathways were built to sustain the addiction, new, healthy pathways can be built to sustain recovery. Understanding the loop is the first, most critical step. It lets you move from shame and self-blame to awareness and strategy. You can't fight an enemy you don't understand. Now you know the enemy isn't you. It's this biological cycle. So how do you interrupt it? you have to systematically target each stage. First, you identify your triggers, the initial feelings of lack. Is it stress, boredom, loneliness, a certain time of day? By recognizing the cue, you can create a tiny bit of space between the trigger and your automatic response. This is where tools like mindfulness and therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, are so powerful. CBT helps retrain your prefrontal cortex, strengthening your ability to challenge the harmful thought patterns that kick off the search for relief. Second, you have to find new, healthier routines to generate relief. The addicted brain has forgotten how to make dopamine the old-fashioned way. Things like exercise, spending time in nature, achieving small goals, and connecting with people you trust all provide healthy, sustainable dopamine releases. These actions slowly begin to rebuild those damaged reward pathways, teaching your brain that it doesn't need the artificial flood to feel good. It's a slow rewiring process, but it is scientifically proven to work. Finally, embracing the recovery process gives the brain time to heal from the new lack. This is why stopping is so important. It gives your dopamine receptors a chance to recover and upregulate, slowly restoring your baseline of happiness. This is often the hardest part, which is why support is so vital. Medically supervised detox, therapy, and support groups provide the structure and guidance needed to get through the intense discomfort of this phase. Conclusion: the journey out of this loop is not a straight line. There will be setbacks, but a relapse doesn't mean you've failed. It's a chance to learn, a chance to better understand your triggers and strengthen your strategies. The brain that has been damaged by addiction has an incredible capacity for healing. Through consistent effort, you are literally forging new pathways, strengthening your brain's CEO and restoring its natural balance. Addiction is not a moral failing or a sign of weakness. It is a chronic brain disorder rooted in a powerful biological cycle. But by understanding that cycle, the loop from lack to search to relief and back to a deeper lack, you take the first and most powerful step toward breaking it. You replace confusion with knowledge and shame with a strategy for healing. If this video was helpful, please consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who might need to hear this message. And if you recognize yourself or someone you love in this loop, please know there is hope and there is effective help available. The final question this science leaves us with is a personal one. Which part of the loop are you in today? Answering that question honestly is the beginning of finding your way out.